Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for Carlos. We're very pleased and honored to have him here this morning. So I just want to pick up, which we often do, is just introduce. We don't have time to introduce everybody, but we do have a few folks who are back uh, and um, and some new people. So I want to just start with that real quickly. And again, Dario, can you just quickly introduce yourself since you haven't been here in a while?
Absolutely. Let me just get back here. Yeah, my name is Dario Solis. I am Business Development Director at the Fulton Schools of Engineering in Arizona State University. And recently, because of the collaboration with Panama, the government of Panama has asked me to help them lead their strategic plan for microelectronics and semiconductors. So I'm some sort of commissioner for that goal. And be splitting my time about half and half with Panama things and ASU as well.
Great, thank you. And Carlos, we'll get back to you in just a couple of minutes. Um, let's see, who else do we have who's fairly new today? And then Ken, you want to again introduce yourself real quickly?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Zambos, and I work at the Pima County Public Library as a library services manager. I'm transitioning back into workforce and economic development, and it's exciting to be here and kind of refamiliarize myself with what efforts have been going on and what the landscape looks like. And Mala, I saw your chat. Hello, and it's good to see you as well.
It's been a long time. As we were commenting earlier, Ken and I go back like 10, 20, 30 years together. Long time. And Jason, I tried to call you yesterday. I got a note that you asked to be removed from our list.
Oh no, I that must have been a mistake on my behalf, Steve. I love being on here. You get this is an awesome forum and I love everyone here. So no, that is a definitely a mistake on my behalf if that's what
Well,
happened.
I was kind of hoping that was the case.
Yeah, no, that's it, sir. I made a mistake somehow trying to in the midst of my chaos do something really stupid. So
Okay. Well, I'll get you added back.
thank
Amanda,
you,
would you
sir.
like to introduce yourself quickly? I know you've been here before, but you want to introduce yourself real quickly?
Sure, absolutely. Steve, Amanda Abens with Pima Community College. I serve as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development.
Great. Glad to have you. Kirk Bush, I know that name.
Good
Want
morning,
to say hi,
Steve.
Kirk?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see
Seen you in
everybody.
a long time.
Yeah, I've been a little busy with the workforce development stuff in the data center space.
Okay. And I'm sure you've never met Carlos, right?
Carlos and I just connected recently on LinkedIn, but we know a zillion of the same people being
Yeah.
old Intel guys, and it's awesome to see him in charge of workforce for Arizona. And we got to get him and Roz together for lunch one of these days, Steve, down in
Really?
Tucson.
Well, Roz is not doing good, as you
Yeah,
may
yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and just get started with a couple of quick things. We do not have a report from the broadband office today. They are off on a conference, and so we won't hear from them this morning. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything about the broadband office and what's happening with them, or we can just move on.
Steve,
Okay,
only that the next step in BEAD, the Mark Goldstein International
sure.
Research Center ATIC chair, the next step will, I believe, be a public call for comment on their suggested BEAD approvals before they finalize those and send them to NTIA. So those are due to NTIA by September 4th, and that open period for comments when there will really be a big reveal of who they're favoring from the bidder pool and proposals will be shortly.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add regarding the broadband office? So while we're talking about NTIA, Randy, did I see you? Are you here yet?
Uh,
There he
yes, let's
is.
see.
So Randy, why don't you
Yes,
just
okay,
take a
here we
minute
go.
to
Here we go.
talk, give
Okay.
us a quick update on what you and I chatted about yesterday.
You bet. Okay, yeah. So Steve asked me to just do a quick update on regulatory stuff for things, bills through Congress and so forth. And so I had just a very, very short list of things that people should be aware of. And one is I'm just going to drop in the chat here a document from Shelby. And one of the discussions that's going on is on August 11th. Shelby, that represents schools and libraries, wrote a letter, to the NTIA, to Ariel Roth, basically pushing back against a change in the definition of community anchor institutions. So they were under the uh, IIJA defined very broadly, and there have since been some guidance in one of the FAQs saying that they need to be located in a government-owned facility that provides publicly accessible internet service and currently offers digital skills training. So that's a greatly narrowed definition. So they wrote a letter to push back against that. And then a few of the other things are just percolating on Capitol Hill. There's been, as we've talked about quite a bit, a discussion of hotspots for schools and libraries. And there's what's called the Congressional Review Act that lets Congress sort of claw back something that an agency does. And so basically, there was a Senate effort to use the CRA to claw back hotspots, and it passed the Senate, hasn't gone through the House. It may or may not come up to vote in the House, but there's been a big sort of lobbying effort to sort of cause the CRA to not go through. So that's an area of activity. There's also what's called delete, delete, delete that many of you have heard about and read about, and it's activity at the level of the FCC, and they've so it was sort of a um, a public discourse of things they were proposing to do, and then have done some of them, and they've repealed 98 antiquated rules and regulations, and they've also put forth something called the direct final rule, which is a process for making changes that has less comment, and they're getting some pushback from that. So that's something within the commission, that's sort of percolating. And then finally, there's a bill from a proposed bill from Joni Ernst, Senate Bill 2610, that would claw back funding for the USDA Community Connect grant program. And again, that's something that is a relatively small program on the USDA portfolio. And from what I've heard, there isn't a groundswell of people that care deeply one way or another for that particular program, or at least that have been vocal. But anyway, those are the things that I'm aware of that are sort of percolating on the federal landscape.
Great. Thanks, Randy. So there are actually a number of other bills when we didn't want to take the time today to get into that, and maybe next week, because there's a lot of other stuff that's happening. But again, in respect to Carlos being here today, that I want to respect his time. And so I'm pleased to, Mala, we're going to delay you till later today if we have time. But I
Oh
want
no,
to make
I
sure.
I don't mind. I don't have a report now, especially since Randy updated you with all the federal stuff. I'm still discombobulated. Is that the word that you use? Because I'm switching computers and I'm trying to get it all synced in. So thank you. Yeah, I don't have a report.
Okay. So Carlos, I'm going to just turn it over to you. I want to welcome Carlos Contreras, who, as I guess you all know by now, is the director of the Office of Economic Opportunity. And as I told Carlos, if anybody knows what's happening in workforce development in the state, if anybody can know all the things that are happening in workforce development, he's the man. And so I had a great conversation with him before the meeting. And we wanted to talk about, while there's so many things to talk about with workforce development, we particularly wanted to talk about how or if they should be involved in digital inclusion and so forth. And I know he said he wanted to have a dialogue with us having rather than him just presenting. But Carlos, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to give a quickie update on what OEO is and then all the many kinds of things you're involved with, and then wherever you want to take this conversation. So we're going to give you as much time as you need.
Great. Well, I appreciate that, Steve. This might be my last official meeting as director for the agency. I'm stepping down tomorrow. I wasn't, yeah,
Sorry to hear that.
I was not, my appointment ends next week. I didn't make it through confirmation process. So submitted my resignation a couple months ago, and I'm just kind of wrapping some things up. But I did want to talk to you guys. Um, and and one of the reasons I want to talk to you guys about is I like it was previously mentioned I was at Intel 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I was working on computer clubhouses, digital literacy programs, stay safe on the internet. We had a lot of seniors that never used computers. So I really value the work that this team does and the how long you've been working at this and seeing this investment come into the state where, oh my gosh, we're finally going to get to people getting broadband all over the place. I mean, 20 years later. Hopefully we'll get that with some trains one day, right? Or something. Um, and so as I kind of thought about what I was going to talk to you guys about, you guys seen the movie Interstellar and you have TARS and he has like an honesty setting. So since I'm on my way out here and I'll kind of turn up the honesty setting a little bit and just have a dialogue with you guys. I'm gonna send you, Steve, kind of like what the agency does, and then I'll talk a little bit about it. I so anyway, so I did that, and then the last thing that I did at Intel was started an AI program with Maricopa Community College, an associate's degree program. I think it's now up to, I think Intel has it up to like 110 schools in 38 states or something. So it's gone all over the place, and it's the same idea 20 years later, except the skills have shifted, right? And we've all seen how these things are shifting. And so that's one end of it is the what technology brings and what people are expected to know when they walk into the workplace in terms of these new tools and these new technologies. And that is literally changing every day, right? As these, especially with ChatGPT and these large language models. So we really want to talk about that piece and really have a dialogue with you guys about that because I think that is to use that hockey term, you got to skate where the puck is going. That's where the puck is going. It's actually passing us pretty fast. And one thing that I saw when I was doing that work around AI, and this is in 2021, this is when I started that program, was it was a little bit disheartening actually. It was kind of like what other countries were doing, like Singapore, Taiwan, Poland, China, right? Because I had colleagues from all over the world, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like we are so far behind, and we are still far behind on this. And so I wanted to kind of challenge you guys on that and think about that in terms of, and it's not, I think this group, especially like the longevity and to the point where you've gotten things is like amazing. It is not that is it's more around, what are the messages that policymakers, educators need to hear at this point in time. And I think that needs to be a little bit more balanced because honestly, some of these conversations feel a little bit like they're 20 years old. And so I think we're past that. I think we really need to look at how this technology is going to disrupt people's work. And, I'm a business person. I mean, that's kind of my background too. At the end of the day, if you're not adding value to a business, then you're not going to have a job, right? I mean, it's that simple. So, what are we going to do from an education perspective so that people learn how to work side by side with these technologies, but also add value, right? And I don't have the answer to that question. I don't think no one does, but I think there's got to be a lot of dialogue around that, and a lot of conversation that needs to happen. The same conversations that were happening 20 years ago about how computers were brand new. Well, actually, it was longer than that, but like people didn't know what the heck these things were. They thought there was a fad. They're like, what's that internet thing? I don't know. What the heck is that? Right. It was the same. It was the same thing, except this thing is I'm old enough to feel that this thing is exponentially more disruptive than that technology. We had enough time with that technology, especially on the policy side, to make some adjustments. We do not have a lot of time with this technology. Government is very slow. Policymakers are very slow, as you guys know, right? And so, really want to have a conversation around that and have a dialogue around that. But before we do, though, I just want to tell you a few things that our office does that might be helpful. One is our team has a lot of data. We have the state demographer. So if ever you want to know anything about demographics in the state of Arizona, any type of US Census report that comes out, our team probably has it. If you need projections for employment projections by industry, SIC codes, by county, our team has that. We publish the monthly job reports. One of the things that the team is working on right now is going back to the AI topic, is the shift in skills and what's going on in the labor market. Again, the lack of really good information and how we're collecting information right now and what we're using, I think those are methods that need to be changed. I think there's some discussion going on in DC around the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? And what that agency is doing. So hopefully they'll tackle some more meaningful things like, hey, we need to collect better data around this disruption of technology. So anyway, so that team is there, very good economists, really good folks there, and then we have a workforce council, the state workforce council, the governor's council, and that's 51% business. We've been expanding participation by businesses, small businesses, and get out of the Maricopa County um, arena, and because that's been one of the challenges I think in my role is Maricopa County is 80% of the job growth for the state, and it's very easy to just get sucked into all things Maricopa. And it's been one of the cool things about this job is actually talking to the different community colleges and different local workforce boards around what's going on in their local economy and learning about their local economies. So that's the council. For those of you that care about infrastructure in rural communities, there is an agency called Greater Arizona Development Authority. It was set up when Fife Samington was governor. It's designed to, and there was like 10 years ago, it was kind of shut down. It's been idle, and we brought that back a couple of years ago. But it's really designed to help to help rural communities and tribal communities finance public infrastructure. As you guys know, let's say you're in Patagonia and you want to build a a police station, and you want to go out to the bond market. What you're asking is not enough for the bond market to be interested in, and probably not going to get great rates. So what this agency does is subsidizes a lot of those costs and kind of bundles a lot of these deals together so you can go up to the market and get really good bonds. And the other thing that this agency also does is technical support, so technical grants. So as the planning starts around what type of infrastructure people need, that's also available as a grant. So our communities can hire engineers and things that they can't afford right now, right? Because there's no extra dollars running around. So they do feasibility studies and planning and do all the work before you go to the market and finance
Carlos,
something.
does that apply to broadband also?
If it's a public infrastructure, if it's a public good, if it's a library, if it's that's kind of some requirements there. And Steve, I'll pass along my slides here and also some contacts for your folks. But that is, I think, that agency just did their first bond. It was like a pedestrian bridge in Superior, Arizona, that keep people safe and away from that busy busy roads down there. So that thing is starting to ramp up. But like especially the planning side of this, I think it's important to let people know that that those funds are available for folks to start planning. That's about it. There's some other stuff around evaluation of workforce programs. So we have a large data system that contains records from the Department of Transportation, training records from WIOA, and we've been able to evaluate effectiveness of programs based on whether people complete the program and then also wages. So we are able to tell whether folks are making more money because of the training, and then over time, how does that change? And that's kind of again this kind of newish capability. We have a report up on our website you can take a look at, and it's really we've been focusing on the Department of Labor funds in helping our local workforce boards make decisions based on data in terms of performance of these programs and where they want to invest their dollars. Because the state can't come in and just tell them, "Hey, don't stop doing that. Do more of this." So been a good partnership where there with the local boards in terms of trying to figure out what kind of data they need, and also for folks that are walking into these one-stop centers looking for a job, instead of sending them to, here's your list and there's really not really good information. It's like, well, if you're interested in being a dental hygienist or if you want to go into healthcare, here you might consider these programs. Here's the performance of the programs in terms of previous folks, and here's how much money you're gonna be able to make. So just trying to create better information for folks out there so they make better decisions. Anyway, that in a nutshell is the agency. Got a really good team, so I'm not worried about you guys like me leaving and things fall apart because I think it's a really good team, a lot of really good professionals. And one thing, the other thing that I learned out of this job is, oh my gosh, there's so much really good work going on around workforce development, but sometimes it's a little bit scattered, right? It's kind of like scattered away. And some regions are better at collaborating than others. I think Pima is probably a little bit better at collaborating than others. And one of the things that we try to do is just to get stakeholders together. So, Steve, I appreciate you pulling everybody, all the chickens together, all the cats together, and try to do one voice because that's going to be super important, especially when you have funding that is every dollar is going to be questioned in terms of public, especially the government spending, right? In terms of what value is it providing. So that's in a nutshell. Want to open up and have a dialogue with you guys around that, but I think it's one thing that I've heard about are things like the way I think we think about workforce development too is we have to have pathways for people to get better jobs. At the end of the day, it's really about somebody getting a good job and having the skills that the industry needs so that person gets paid, right? So we spent a lot of time on construction. We've been running the governor's initiative to double the number of construction apprentices by 2026. We're like 80% of the goal. We just issued some more dollars to support that. And you just have to kind of look around and see what's going on in the state to understand that construction has just been everywhere. And I think that will directly impact all the build out that's going on for broadband. And I think TSMC said by themselves they need 20,000 construction workers. Our economists predicted that before that announcement. So we know we're going to need a lot of that skill. And thinking about AI in terms of how disruptive that technology is, I don't think it's going to be able to do your plumbing. I don't think you're going to call AI to Roto-Rooter. I think you're going to call Roto-Rooter if your plumbing gets stuck. So I think those jobs, from a workforce development perspective, it's another strategy to make sure that the investments continue where folks have skills and especially in the trades that are good paying jobs that are going to be needed as this infrastructure gets built out. I think electricians is a great example. Those programs are just exploding. I'm sure Amanda is over there. Yeah, they are. I can't keep enough kids, can't fill enough slots, because that is a really great career. And if I were to talk to myself when I was coming out of high school a long time ago, I went into engineering. I probably would have gone into electrician now. and then get my engineering degree as I worked. It's just I think that is a really hot area for students, and I think students kind of see that. And so when we think about a workforce development program, we kind of think about that. We just think about like where are we going to invest dollars so that people get the skills and there's growth for them and there's a good wage. And there's a lot of different metrics around job quality and what that means. And I think everyone's got an opinion on that. But it's like at the end of the day, right? Can you buy a house? Can you afford rent? Can you pay the grocery bills, right? Can you have, a career? And those are the important questions that we ask. So when I hear things like a fiber splicing program or solar installer, and it's not tied to a broader set of skills so that when that person finishes, they can go do something else, I get a little bit worried about investing in those programs because I think we need to be very honest with people around your job prospects, and you have to have more than that skill, especially in this job market. So I probably said a lot of things that you triggered
So Carlos,
you guys. That's it. That's all I got.
I'm sure that people are going to have questions, but I have a couple of things. One is that you talked about the workforce investment boards in local communities. There may be people on this call who don't really know what that is and how it interacts with the statewide plan and so forth. So if you could talk about that. And then secondly, which I think you and I chatted about a little bit, is that the governor has this workforce cabinet. And then
Yeah.
there's also this AI task force, I believe, that the governor has created. So if you could talk about those things a little bit, and I'm going to open it up for other people. I'm sure I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So under the Department of Labor, Arizona gets about, and now I think now it's down to $77 million a year for workforce development. We've been getting less and less money every year because our economic conditions have been improving so much versus other parts of the country, right? It's kind of like a fixed buy, and then every state gets a slice of it. Especially Pima County's been seeing really good reductions in poverty levels and things like that. So there's some really good things going on in Pima County. But part of that arrangement with the federal government is you have to set up local workforce development boards. And so the county in Pima, for example, has a workforce development board with a Pima County Board of Supervisors. I think Amanda, you might sit in that, or Ian sits in that. But it has representation of business folks, it has representation of education institutions, and it's really to guide the investments that the board gets from the federal government. So the federal government gives the money to the states. The state then does a formula based on population and then some other economic factors, and then everybody gets an allocation, and there's services that you have to do as a local workforce board. So you have one of those in Pima, you have one of those in Santa Cruz, and you have one of those. Well, yeah, we have I think 12 of them throughout the state of Arizona. Like you guys were kind of watching the federal government and see what they do with that structure, and hoping that some of the bureaucratic uh, things that the law asks are eliminated because it's just very burdensome. And I've seen that in terms of just the paperwork and so sometimes businesses just say, yeah, I don't want your money because this is too much paperwork for me to fill out. And so hopefully will there be an opportunity to do that. The governor's workforce cabinet that was launched gosh, 18 months ago, I think. And this was pre-Trump, Biden. What was going on with the administration back then, you guys know this, there was workforce dollars that were showing up in different agencies that were not Department of Labor. They were showing up in EPA, they were showing up in Commerce, they were showing up in the Department of Transportation. So the state was getting workforce development dollars that were landing at ADOT, that were landing with Access or DHS, right? And so like how do we coordinate the activities so that it matches what the government wants to do in terms of the economic and workforce development for the state? So that is strictly a cabinet uh, kind of management function right now in terms of getting the cabinet leaders together in agreeing on goals, programs. I mentioned Build It as an example. That's one that we're working with ADOT and register contractors to reach that goal. We started that before the cabinet. And so there's similar goals that are in place for advanced manufacturing and for healthcare and cybersecurity and so forth. And so that's really a way of organizing. And then the last one is the AI task force, right, Steve? So I've not been as involved with that one as the cabinet, but it's really, I think this is kind of back to my earlier point. I think it's just trying to get our arms around this technology and getting folks that are in the middle of it and trying to move the ball forward, right? Because on one hand, you have the economic reality that you have to use this technology and it'll be competitive, right? If you're a small manufacturer in Tucson and you have somebody doing visual inspections, like looking at product and trying to figure out if it's good quality, and that can get replaced by a camera that you can train in 30 minutes. And I've seen this with community college students. Uh, and it's going to save the company money. They have to do it because their competitors are doing it. But then that person gets this place, right? So this is really strange dynamic of you got to use technology, but it's also going to disrupt things. But guess what? If you know how to program or use that algorithm for your specific use case, then you have a job, right? So that's a skill shift, right? And so I think those are the type of discussions that need to happen in terms of the economic side, but also the workforce side. And sometimes there's going to be conflicts, right, in terms of which one, which one outweighs what. But I think everyone's having those conversations, and so that task force, I think, is going to start producing some of those findings. So, and part of it is also just an economic development strategy. So there's a lot of like I said, no one has the answer for this technology. The smartest thing to do is to just engage with it, which is one of the reasons I think why this program I used to work with kind of took off with community colleges because like everybody wanted to figure out what the heck's going on with this and just get on the bus, right? And just get on the road and not wait until things settle down because it's going to be a participatory sport in terms of trying to figure out what to do with this technology.
So, Carlos, when you and I chatted a little bit, that part of my question had to do with, so how do we, as you know, that we're, of course, looking at digital inclusion and skill development, not just for workforce development, but although it's important if we give people those skills, that hopefully it will help them to prepare for a job. But we have a lot of people who need to have digital skills. And we need to incorporate that across the board in terms of workforce development, community colleges, and all kinds of different organizations. Um, excuse me. Um, and so the question becomes, so how do we work with your organization? Of course, unfortunately, you're leaving, but your organization, and again, the governor's cabinet and so forth. How do we get that to be a part of the dialogue and talking about workforce education, workforce development? Because it's a whole huge population of people out there that we're all trying to address the need for digital skills.
So I think, Steve, I'm gonna go back to my honesty setting here, right? What is the case for that? Like, what does the data say around that issue? Because I think that's not the right issue. And this is the one thing that I always worry about, even when I was at Intel. Am I working on the right problem? And that's really my question to you guys. Are you guys working on the right problem? Is that the right problem? Or is the problem that, again, going back to this AI technology, people don't know about what it does. We, as a society, we have to make some decisions around also, I didn't even talk about this. As a society, we have to make some decisions about where we're going to use this technology, where we don't want to use this technology. And so we need some ethics frameworks that people can get their hands on and they need to participate in, we're a democracy, right? Where we need to have people participate in that dialogue. And so I just really want to have you guys maybe have that discussion at some point around, are you working on the right problem? Because I think people, they know how to use technology. I don't think that's an issue anymore. I think they do. And maybe there's some pockets that still haven't gone there, but it's like that's a 5% problem versus there's a 90% problem over here that's just festering.
I
And that's
think you're going to get pushback from this group on what you just commented
I'm sure I
on.
am. I'm sure I am. Yeah.
So I'm going to stop asking my questions and open it up for questions or comments from anybody and everybody who wants to chime in.
Let me have it, guys. Go ahead. It's okay.
Oh, come on.
I'll
Can't
chime
wait
in.
to have questions.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'll chime in. Carlos, for one, the AI thing that you started at Intel with Mesa Community College is an awesome program, and it's been going great. And we've been doing a lot more in the data center space with them in workforce development. We presented $50,000 worth of money to them from the Arizona Data Center Alliance members to continue to push that program and marketing to the trades to get folks in those programs. Every year at the National Guard, there's the Arizona Construction Career Days for 2 days in November, where we bus kids in from all over the state and put them in big rigs and put them in backloaders and really promote the trades. And that's the biggest problem we have right now in building factories and data centers and everything and energy projects is getting folks on job sites, getting them in factories and getting them on job sites. You hear this silliness about people stealing all of our jobs when it's we're sitting there, we can't get people on job sites. I don't know what jobs they're stealing.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everything you've done, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when you actually leave the state. I don't know how soon you can share what you might be doing, but we'd definitely be interested in talking to you and how you can help continue these programs. Also in telecom, we have the same problem, right? We have the same problem in trying to get skilled labor, splicing cables and on these construction sites, pulling fiber. I don't know if there's any easy answer to it other than just continuing to push workforce development programs, all that we can. ASU's been great. Mesa Community College system, or the Maricopa Community College system is great. The Pinal system is great. And Santa Cruz has just launched. That was an awesome post just now with their electrical contracting program. But I don't know what we do about it other than keep doing what we're doing. And if there's some silver bullet that I don't know about yet, I'd like to find it.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk, there isn't. I mean, I think what you guys are doing in terms of having the industry kind of come in and push for those things, I think you just have to keep doing that, unfortunately. And unfortunately, you have to knock in a lot of doors, right? Because we're just not a centralized system. And your point about construction, I mean, I was up in Flagstaff last month, and Banner, I think it was a guy from Banner, and he's like, I'm trying to build hospitals, I can't find construction workers, right? So we're seeing the spillover effect of an industry that needs more workers that is impacting everybody. And so I think that's one, I think that's the one cross industry collaboration. I didn't quite have enough time to explore that, but I think that's probably one where that coalition can be broader because it's not just the semiconductors, but it's also schools, it's factories, it's data centers, it's hospitals, it's roads, right? It's just and it's a great problem to have because Arizona's growing. So it's a fantastic problem to go and solve. But industry just needs to keep pushing for things. I think that was my other takeaway from this job is just you just need to keep pushing for these things. I'm happy to stay in touch. I'll share my information on that email and stuff to Steve if you guys want.
That would be awesome. And also a fellow workforce champion, Mr. Christopher Ross. That name might ring a bell to you,
Yeah.
but he just said hello because we're working on some stuff on the other screen.
Oh, Chris, yeah, Chris is, yeah, tell him I said hello. He was very creative. I like Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Okay, Randy, you have a question or comment, please?
Yeah, yeah. No, Carlos, thank you very much. So one of the things that I've been pondering in terms of workforce is if you look at fiber infrastructure development, some of it is done locally, but also there are a lot of crews that travel from state to state. So what's interesting for Arizona, there's an opportunity to export workforce, right? So if you do a good job, you could have an army that travels to all sorts of adjoining states. Conversely, if it's done poorly, even though the money is pouring into the state, the jobs could be exported. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think just companies are going to get creative, right? Around how they source talent. And it's the same thing with semiconductors, right? I mean, you can hire engineers from ASU or U of A, or you can go to Purdue, right? I mean, there's choices that can get made. It's a matter of like locally, what training programs to we provide for our local workforce so that they could get these good paying jobs. And so I think that's just going to continue to be the case. Yeah.
Other questions or comments for Carlos?
And I apologize for my preachiness if I came across as that, but
It's okay.
yeah.
No, we need more of that, Carlos. Don't apologize for that at all.
Amanda, you have question or comment, please?
I just want to take a second since I have the opportunity to just publicly tell you, Carlos, thank you so much for your leadership. You've made a big difference in the state, a big difference for workforce development and for us at the community colleges. And so just really I want to express my appreciation. Thank you.
No, you're welcome, Amanda. It's a pleasure working with you guys. You guys are fantastic. Pima Community College is fantastic. I just want to publicly endorse it for everybody here. We're really, really good partners.
Other questions or comments?
Steve, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Carlos. My name is Kelly Mukherjee from ASU's Enterprise Technology. I support the CIO Lev Gonick in our broadband and digital inclusion efforts. My question for you is, we created a web portal called As1 to provide data visualizations and analysis to help make data-driven decisions to drive more efforts around broadband and digital equity. And you mentioned the OEO having a lot of data and analysis. Wondering if you would recommend any kind of data collaborations so that we're partnering more in our efforts in driving those data-driven decisions so that we can help with prioritization of the work here in Arizona more efficiently.
Yeah, I think Kelly, yeah, definitely. The one area we've been focused on, and we've been working with your folks too, with the universities and the Board of Regents, is just, the problem, and I mentioned like the WIOA stuff, like we have the training records, like the agency doesn't have an ability to get all the training records. We don't have K-12 records. And so we have to, from a data perspective, to your point, we have to show the journey of how did people get to be where they are, what training, and then just give the field that feedback around what, what are the factors that are contributing, what are the factors that need to pay attention to, right? Just, we owe that to the folks that spend time and their money and their energy in getting trained and put things on hold, right? To have that level of transparency, but also as a training and as educators, right? Everybody wants that information, right? Everybody wants things to get better. So definitely, I don't think we're nearly there in terms of our use of data. So thank you, Kelly, for that work that you do. And I can connect you to our data scientists that's in our agency and you guys can have a great chat. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Carlos, I was kind of hoping that you would be our champion or advocate, particularly like with the governor's cabinet and so forth in regard to digital literacy. So, first of all, I appreciate all the work that you've done, and of course, we've known each other for God knows how many years. We've been all together, you and me and Mark, all kinds of folks who been at this game for a long time now. It was interesting that you talked about GATA many years ago, and Mark, maybe you want to comment about this. We had conversations with GATA before about what their role could be with broadband. And then, of course, they went away, and then changes with ACA and all kinds of stuff. I didn't realize that they were. I actually saw that recently, but I didn't realize they were kind of back in the game again. So I don't know, Mark, if you want to make any comments about that.
No, that's a good recap. It never got traction. You're right. We started conversations, it went away, came back, but we kind of viewed it as more for traditional physical infrastructure, and never quite got their attention and direction towards the broadband world.
Mm.
And obviously, the world has changed a lot since then. But
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, and again, Steve, I'll write the contact for that agency if people want to reach out to her. Mary Foote runs it for us. Okay, well,
so, Carlos, do you have any thoughts that you might want to share with people? Again, we talked a little bit about the local workforce investment boards, and I'm not sure that most or any of those boards really have addressed the digital literacy. I think, obviously they're focused on jobs and so forth, but we're also talking about preparing a future workforce, and obviously having those skills is absolutely critical. And so, do you have any thoughts about how do we best engage with I've attended meetings of the Workforce Investment Board here in Pima County, but how do we integrate somehow that discussion with the system? And that's part of what my interest was in talking with you, is that there is that system that's in place. And I'm not sure that dialogue has been taking place with the workforce investment boards, with the governor's cabinet, and so forth, to understand that this is a different kind of an issue than just the workforce, but it is part of a workforce development issue.
yeah, that's a really good question. I think with the local workforce boards, one way to get yourself, one is try to get yourself on the board, I think, so that you have a voice. The other thing is if you have training that is what you talked about, if you have training that's available that somebody has, you can get on the state training provider list, you can get on the list, and then folks have access to it. And I think that might be the other way, right? So how do you make it tangible? And my question, Steve, to you is, what do you want to do? Like, what does that look like for you? Like, get engaged. What does that look like? Is it funding is it skill development? Is it funding to more skill development? Is it making it uh, a part of how folks view workforce development in terms of it's a base, it's a fundamental skills that everybody needs to have, right? It's like showing up on time, right? You need to know technology, right? So I think that might be something for you guys to think about in terms of what's the end goal, what does it look like, and then within how these systems operate, like where do you connect? Like where's the best path for you to connect? Because they have 10,000 things, right? The local workforce was that they're trying to figure out at the same time. And so you have to figure out a way to, and this is one of the things I learned in government, is you have to figure out a way to fit what you're doing into what that particular entity is interested in and their existing processes and where you can intercept it. Because if you ask them to do something completely different, it's hard pushing that rock up that
Yeah,
hill.
because part of the problem, Carlos, is that we have a lot of good people who are doing some good stuff with digital literacy and so forth, but it really isn't, at least in my opinion, really well integrated into our education and workforce development strategies. And so I've talked, for example, with some of the community college folks about the need to have a strategic plan for community college on how they're going to engage in digital literacy skills. And a lot of them are doing some good stuff, But in my opinion, it's kind of, well, we got this going on here, we got that going on there, but not a real cohesive strategic plan. And obviously that's different with different community colleges. So I'm obviously making some general statements here, but that's my perspective. And so for me, if we're going to deal with digital literacy, I mean, we were projected to get $16 million for 5 years for digital literacy. Not much, right? And so we really have to begin to develop, in my opinion, to integrate the whole issue of digital literacy into our overall education and workforce development strategies. And right now, I kind of feel like we're on the side over here and not well integrated. And so at least that's my opinion. And I think we have to, particularly as we move forward, of how we're going to deal with this issue of digital literacy on a really broad basis. So I don't know if others have any thoughts or comments about that. That's kind of my perspective. Any other thoughts, comments people have for Carlos? So again, Carlos, thank you very much for all your work over the years. I hope you're not leaving the state. And I don't know if you're ready to.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm not. I'll be around, and I have a house in Tucson, and I have a house up here in Phoenix. I have a kid down at U of A, so you guys want to drop me a line, I'm happy to have more conversations around this. But I'll be around. Not sure yet what I'm going to do. This is my second retirement, I guess. So maybe we'll talk about what my third retirement looks like.
I guess I didn't realize you were. I mean, again, we've kind of known each other for a while, but didn't really realize exactly the work you were doing. At least I didn't. Mark probably does because he's been around for a long time with you, but and Kirk there, but hadn't really realized all the stuff you were doing with Intel. Also, obviously Intel was early on in AI from what you described.
Yeah. So I'll be around. So I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Sounds great. Well, Carlos, thank you very much again for the work that you've done for the state and also for being here this morning.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye now. You're welcome to stay on if you want or whatever. Well, there he's gone. Mala, Mala, you didn't really have anything to report?
That's right, Steve.
Okay.
Randy's done a great job reporting back to you.
Hold on just a second here. Let me change the gallery here. Okay. So next week, we are scheduled to have Derek Masseth, who many of you know is the director of Sun Corridor Network, and we haven't heard from them in a while about a lot of the great work that they're doing. So Derek is scheduled to be here next week. However, I am going to be talking to folks because, as I mentioned, there are a lot of other bills. Randy just touched on a few things, but there are huge number of things that are happening regarding broadband and digital inclusion, including people pushing to get that digital inclusion money restored. And so there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening, and it's kind of important time-wise to be able to understand what's happening there. The issue that Randy discussed this morning is really important because we've certainly have come to recognize that CAIs are really important in this game, and the rules that they've changed that could significantly impact what we're trying to do with digital literacy. So again, it's an issue. I did include it in my newsletter, and you might want to pay attention to that. Again, the Universal Service Fund issue is still going on, and they do have a bipartisan, bicameral committee that's looking at USF, and they do have an open portal right now if you want to provide input into the future for the Universal Service Fund, and that's just scratching the surface of things that are rolling around up in Washington these days. And at least those two things are included in my newsletter on what those are, how to links to more information about those issues. But those are really important issues to pay attention to. Anything else that anybody wants to share what they're doing? Tamara, you want to, we didn't get to you, but you want to just introduce yourself again? Been a long time. We're glad to have you back.
Sure. My name's Tamara Rosenberg. I'm with Resound Networks, and I'm trying to think if there's anything I can say about our projects in Arizona. We do have a number of live projects throughout, not Maricopa, whatever. Yeah, Maricopa County, Pima County, Yuma County, Pinell. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. We're most of our projects are wireless, although we're also doing some fiber projects, and that's anyone who wants to connect. I'm here to connect. Thanks.
Great, thanks. So Amber, I don't know if I can put you on the spot and you can choose to take the Fifth Amendment, but I know you're very involved with the workforce development folks here in Pima County. Do you have any thoughts about the workforce development boards and how they should or can be involved in the issues of digital literacy?
I would probably defer that to my supervisor, who's in charge of those commissions and boards.
Soon about AI.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be here.
David, you need to mute.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording if nobody has anything official.